may be small, but we're mighty. The Isuzu Owners Group doesn't have thousands of members. We don't have sponsorship money. We don't get club discounts. But what we do have is dedication and ingenuity. One of the members of the group, one of my friends, Billy, reached out to a company. I believe it's called Mookeeh. So it's Mookeeh. You can find them easily online. Billy worked with this company to come up with these custom-made camber plates for the front struts on our 3rd gen Stylus and Impulse. So with this kit, we'll have adjustability for the camber from the front struts, and with this kit we should have a little more adjustability in dialing in our suspension. First, we need to remove the struts from the car. Popping off the wheel cover, wrapped in a glove. You know how we do. I forgot to crack these loose when it was on the ground. Don't be like me. It's still in gear, so maybe I can crack it loose. We'll see. Oh yeah. I'm sure I'm doing some type of irreparable damage. It's fine. It's the Judge Mills impact wrench. We're going to put a little compression on the lower control arm. That way. Here we go. You know what I like is when I can only find one glove. It's really awesome. Where would the other one go? Don't know. So we're removing the brake line first, and this one, the previous owner cut a slit in this mounting bracket, so once I move this backwards we'll be able to bend this part back and it'll slide up. I remember messing around with this when I put the braided lines in, which right now, just as I planned. Now at this point what I want to do is I'll put my spring compressors up here, get a little tension off the springs, and we'll be able to remove the bolts down below and up top. For this purpose I will loosen the top but leave them still connected. Then we'll remove these ones down below. So keep in mind, we already have compression a little bit on the springs from the jack down below. That's pushing up on the lower control arm. So really we're not looking to fully compress these or anything in the vehicle. We just want to make sure that they stay somewhat compressed as we remove the bolt. So this is a 15th, 16th bolt on top of my Craftsman spring compressors. Not the ideal. The size is fine, I'm just saying this is not a lot of access up here, but this will work, this will do, this will do. Yeah, we're good. We got little safety pins in here as well that give you the false illusion of safety. Next, you may notice there's a plug here. There's different variations of if the top plate is rotated forward or backward on the Lotus cars, so the XS and RS trims. They had the stud in the forward position, I believe on the base model, and some of the Irmscher or other models in Japan, they had this face the rear. Anyway, I break everything loose by hand. case a impact breaks the stud. Actually, I need to leave them in just a little bit while we loosen the lower strut bolts. Alright, these are 17 millimeters. Let's get them broken loose here. I want to do it this way, I think. Yeah, I'm smart. Too easy. Or not. A little too easy. Let's see if I bang the disc here. Nah, we good. So I did think of something. It was a bonehead move on my part. I left the nut loose all the way at the top. I don't want to do that because once I take that bottom bolt out, it's going to fall down 1/4 inch or so. So just hand tighten these back down. That way the whole assembly doesn't try to fall down. So what I'm going to do now is loosen these up, hold on to the assembly, and then I'll get into a position where I can fully remove the nuts. What I failed to mention is that with these top plates for the front struts, I don't know the correct terminology, but we have a bearing up here that's encased in rubber, and you might refer, or the group members might refer to it as the turkey's done. This assembly can fail, which pops this cap and the rubber surrounding up. It can damage your hood. The strut mount has failed, and the aftermarket replacements only last a few years. Luckily, because the Geostorm was wildly popular, we still have that option. But this aftermarket Mookeeh plate with the adjustable camber is going to eliminate that fear. This is going to be much stronger than a third-party manufacturer making subpar replacement standards. So it'll be good for all of us that bought these plates. More than a dozen, I'll have you know. I think we're up to 30 to 40 at this point. I might be able to show you, this one's not as bad as the other, but I have pretty bad cracking in these top rubber mounts. Alright, under that cover we have just the nut that attaches the front plate to the strut. During shipping, one of the studs came loose out of the plate. So my guess is it wasn't fully seated before it went out in the mail. The stud is like a wheel stud. It has the stipling, I think you call it, that's supposed to hold it in the plate. So what we're going to do for this is we'll stick it in. You can see it's not chewed up inside there. So it shouldn't rotate once it's fully seated. Pressing in by hand, you see it's not fully seated. You see these are. You're going to want to use the nut that came with the car. We'll call this a technical service bulletin or a Billy service bulletin. He's the one that messaged me last night. his did the same thing. One of his studs had worked loose during shipping. You'll want to use a regular flat washer, not a locking washer, and you'll want to use an original style nut. So there's no nylock, or it's not oval shaped to retain position. It's just a regular nut with a shoulder is what came from the factory. I also picked up some new ones from the hardware store this morning. Exact same style, just shinier. Regardless, you're going to want to tighten this all the way down by hand, then use a wrench to gently fully seat that stud into the plate. So we'll get it hand tight first. You can see it's already starting to seat. Then I'll grab a wrench. It's going to be a 14mm. We'll just do this by hand. Flip it back around. We can see that it is now fully seated. I'm going to go around and check these others. These ones are completely flush. This one's sunken in a little bit, so I'm just going to go through on all of them, just make sure they're tightened up. So again, I'm just going to go through on the other plate and make sure these are all tightened down. This plate, they all need to be fully seated. These are 17mm on the top hat, connecting it to the strut. And that will come right off. So let me see if we're in. So looking at the bottom of the plate, this is all rubber on the bottom that holds that bearing at the top of the strut. So what happens is, over time, and you can see this is cracking. It can get worse, obviously, but we have cracking all the way around, you know, the base of the bearing. So eventually that rubber fails. The strut can shoot through the top of this plate. So we want to make sure enough of this collar on the bottom of the stud of the strut is showing during final assembly. So we're going to tighten down the compressors a little more. Put your hand in a safe place, out of the way of the spring. Whoops. Gotta use the right socket there. There we go. Alright, that leaves us with plenty of collar showing on the bottom there. So we have this piece right here. I don't know if it, yeah, let's call it a spacer. This is going to fit over that piece right there. And that'll fit inside there to fully seat. So it looks like so this is about as much as the top plate goes down, and we got the spring compressed, so everything's kind of sliding around, but you can see the, well, I don't know what you can see, but we have this pressed down pretty far. This is easier if you have a spring compressor that fits from the, like this sits in a base, and then the fingers, you know, pull this down. It'd be a lot easier, but I just do this at home. So this will go over, What I'm going to do probably is fit this in to the plate first. Make sure you grab the right plate. So for the driver's side on the American cars, this flat side will go towards the engine, so the more negative camber that you add goes this way. That would also mean you're in the lotus position with the stud towards the front. So now we use the supplied, I'd call it a top nut, but this fits inside of the plate. Pretty cool looking piece of hardware. We're going to thread that in. Make sure this all aligns and doesn't pinch. Awesome. Now we'll tighten that up. This one's 21 millimeter. And try it by hand. Ah, that scared me at first. The plate shifted, but that bearing rotates. It's semi-circular, so this is gonna move around by design. So we're good in that regard. Usually we go by good and tight on these, but shop manual says 43 foot-pound. That's what we're going to do. Again, hard to do from a bench, but we make do with what we got. We're going to let some tension off the spring, so I'll hold that top plate in place. Make sure we're seated at the bottom. That plate has the slant towards the spring. Now that this unit is all assembled, we can go and put it back in the car. Alright, we're going to take the assembly, route it through the top, and get it the nuts on the top there to hold it in place while I align the bottom. Going to have to recompress the springs. Oh, so close. Let's get a nut on that one. There we go. Alright, that's hand tight for now while we move this around and get it in place. Let's get a little compression on those springs. Now we'll lift that lower control arm up, get it in place to bolt it in. So, tighten up the bottom first, because that sounds fun. We can go ahead and remove the spring compressors. So where the strut connects to the knuckle is 116 foot-pound. Alright, I'm going to make sure these are snugged up. And then these are 58 foot-pounds of torque. In hindsight, I should have adjusted this outside of the car, but it is a good real-world application, especially if you do your own alignment or take it to an alignment shop. But there are 17 hash marks on here, so we're guessing we either set it into the middle somewhere. So if you count from the inside out, that'd be 9 or so. I'm going to set mine at 8, just one hash mark in. Give it a tad bit of negative camber. Definitely gonna have to take it to an alignment shop to make sure it's where we want it to be. Right now these came at roughly 9.5, so I'm gonna move it into 8. So these are already loosened up. What I want to do is I let compression off the lower control arm as well, so this is in full droop. It's not being pushed up by the weight of the car or the jack. So I'm going to move this position 8, which is right there. So we're at position 8 from the inside, and we're going to tighten these up. Make sure it doesn't move around as you tighten it. Go in a crisscross pattern like a wheel. So with that 5mm hex head, I set these to the 8th mark to the inside. Got them good and tight. I don't have a tech or a torque spec for these, but we'll have to sort of play it by ear as a group. I think these will be tight enough. Just make sure your tool is fully seated as you're tightening. They do come with lock washers underneath the heads, so it should hold them in position and help prevent them from getting loose. Last step of the process is reinstalling the brake line into the strut assembly. Slide that retaining clip back in. There we go. Still slides in there smoothly. This side is now completely finished. We'll head over to the other side. We'll let the jack down a little bit so if there's any compression left in the spring, it won't shoot down at all. Perfect. Lower knuckle is now free from the strut. We can go work on the top now. 14mm, I like to crack these by hand before I use the impact. If you noticed, I did it in a different order this time. Last time I left these installed while I removed the bottom, but in hindsight I used a lot of precaution, which is good, but in this case it wasn't necessary since I had compressors on the spring. Right now I can remove these and just hold it by hand underneath, and I can pull it all out. It's just, this is faster this way. So taking the last nut off by hand while holding the strut. Alright, same deal as the other strut. There is some copyrighted music being played outside by my family, so I might have to mute the microphone. Might go into our own little license-free music interlude if we have to. But anyway, it's going to be the same deal. Take the top plate off, replace it. I think it's a 17. Sure is. Crack it open with the DeWalt. Slide that plate off. I think this one's in worse condition than the other one. Let's take a look. You might not be able to see it on camera, but we have a crack along here. Then on the bottom, it's really dried out. If this was a tire, you wouldn't drive on it. It's really cracked. So who knows how much longer I had on it. This crack runs. I'm not sure if the camera, here, let's look at it this way. That crack runs all the way around. So it's definitely failing around the bearing. So again, this piece fits inside here. Then we're gonna press that in. Give it a couple ugga-duggas with this. Make sure your fingers are in a place that'll get pinched. And again, this is 43 foot-pounds on the top nut. There we go, complete assembly. This goes really quick. As you can tell, I probably overthought it in the with the first strut, but this is super simple. No reason to overthink it. We're gonna go ahead and adjust the marks on this as well. Keeping in mind that middle strut faces forward, we're gonna count 8 notches from the inside. Be a little easier outside of the car. So make sure they're loosened up. And then might need to move it to the end of the bench here. Alright, so that's 8 notches right there from the inside. We'll go ahead and snug it up and count again. There we go. It's all set. We'll leave those finger tight and then attach the bottom. $17mm. Let's get these snugged up. Foot-pound on these again is 116. You can see I haven't needed to hold on to the wrench. It has enough force on there from the clamping. Haven't needed it, but just in case. There we go. .58 foot-pounds on the 14mm crisscross pattern. I'll go back with the 5mm hex head just to make sure that these are tight. That wraps it up. One final comment on this project. I know these studs set up higher than they did on the factory top mounts. They will not interfere with your hood, so you don't have to worry about that. To wrap this project up, this was really easy. What took me the most time was setting up this camera and explaining what I was doing as I was going. With any type of project where there's doubles, like doing brake jobs or whatever, where there's going to be multiple, it's always slower on the first one and the second one's really fast. It took me no time at all, and I definitely took a lot of precautions when it came to using the spring compressors for everything. With those RSR springs, I probably didn't even need to use them. I pretty much put them on there, tightened them by hand, and that's all it needed. So really straightforward project putting these adjustable camber plates on. I'm going to hold on to these just in case. I do not throw away parts. As you can probably tell from shots from my shop, I don't get rid of a lot unless it's actually trash. So these are still usable in case something weird happens. I don't expect that to happen, but you never throw away good parts. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I have another project soon and don't go another 2 years without doing a video.